welcome back to Magdalena Kognetx, or welcome if you're new here. Today we're diving into a full body mobility routine, one I do almost every day, and it's completely intuitive. That means some days it's 10 minutes, some days it's 30 or more, and it really depends on how I feel, where I'm tight, or just how much time I have. What I've learned since taking mobility seriously in my 30s, especially this year, is it's not optional for me, it's foundational. It's literally your access point to progress and strength and endurance and recovery and in longevity. If you can't get into an exercise position, you can't train it. So it's really what's going to keep you pain-free, progressing, and feeling good. So let's begin. All right, so we're going to start off with neck lateral flexion. You're going to bring your left ear to your left shoulder. In this routine, and specifically on this day, I'm going to be starting with the upper body. So kind of working my way from the top to the bottom. It's just how I like to start my routine. And we want to start with the neck. It's going to support your posture and certainly reduce that stiffness. So go ahead now and bring your right ear towards your right shoulder. And just notice any asymmetries from the other side. Is this side particularly tighter? What do you notice? This is a really good mobility exercise to kind of start. It's going to just help reduce any stiffness you have, and it's going to just help better shoulder mobility, which we'll be getting into shortly. And obviously your spinal alignment over time. All right, we're slowly going to do a transition now into child's pose. And then we're gonna flow right into Cobra. So just sink back into that child's pose, hips to heels, and then you're gonna ripple forward into Cobra, lifting the chest. And this flexion to extension wave rehydrates the spine and basically mobilizes both the lumbar and thoracic regions. I like to just do a little bit of twist there at the top. Lots of research that shows that spinal mobility work like this early in the day especially is going to help improve circulation of your synovial fluid, which supports your joint health and disc hydration. So keep it fluid, don't force it. If you're having lower back pains, be super careful in Cobra, not to arch too much, and just really feel the movement. Just slowly get yourself into it. All right, then we're going to move into an extended puppy pose. So your hips are going to stay over the knees. Your arms are going to reach forward and just really let that chest move towards the floor. It's going to open up your thoracic spine and stretch your lats. It's really powerful for anyone doing overhead lifts or just dealing with shoulder tightness. The breath is your cue here, so just inhale, find length, and then exhale to release. All right, so now we're gonna go into threading the needle to a thoracic twist. So go ahead and thread your right arm underneath your body. And then you're gonna rotate it open on your way up. And this is a thoracic twist. It targets that rotation through the mid-back. And you've got the controlled spinal rotation going here for you. It's really going to help improve that rib cage mobility. And it's very foundational for functional movement if that's what you're into, especially for lifts, running, or even sports where rotation is important. Okay, so now we're going to switch to the other side. Your left arm threads under, and then that right arm kind of stays up in front. And then just have that rotational twist when you come up. Just really stay grounded in your hips. And as always, just let your breath guide you when you do the rotation. Really, limited thoracic rotation is often linked to lower back and shoulder pain. And so this gentle movement is going to help restore what many of us seem to be missing, or at least I might be missing right now. So I definitely include this into my daily mobility routine. All right, now your classic cat-cow pose. I think this is a fan favorite. So inhale when you're arching your spine. You obviously lift your tailbone and chin, and then exhale and you round your spine. You tuck everything under. And really this sequence is what activates your deep core stabilizers, like those, how do you pronounce it, transverse abdominis. And it brings articulation to each vertebrae. So really just go slow, feeling each of those vertebrae. And synchronize your movement with your breath here, which some studies show actually helps improve your vagal tone. And it actually enhances your stress response and your nervous system health. Just keep going. A couple more. And then we're going to transition into alternating bird dog. And what you're going to do is you're going to extend your opposite arm and leg out. And then basically you're going to switch sides. And this mobility exercise here really activates that posterior chain, your glutes, your hamstrings, your spinal stabilizers, and it improves balance and core strength. It's a very effective exercise, especially if you have lower back pain. So I highly recommend this. I recently tweaked my lower back, and this helped me in my recovery. Make sure you keep your hips square, and it's really about that control. Take your time with it. And just make sure you're focusing and breathing. Doing a great job. Okay, now we're going to go into alternating down dog toe touches. So from downward dog, just reach your hand across to the opposite foot and then basically switch sides. And here you're combining shoulder stabilization with deep hamstring and calf stretches. And really, this is going to wake up your obliques and improve that athletic coordination that we're all hopefully maybe looking for. So just breathe through fully with each transition, and let this one feel like a meditation or a moving meditation. Especially if you're doing this in the morning, this really helps wake everything up. It's another favorite of mine for sure. All right, I like to just quickly do a super quick child's pose there. Go ahead and just take a little break. Have some water. I'm taking off my wedding rings here, or wedding rings, I should say, my wedding band and my engagement band. Really because later on in this routine I'm going to do dead hangs, so it just bothers me when I have a ring on. Alright, so now lie on your side, your knees stacked, your arms extended, and we're going to do page turners. And basically you're going to open your top arm like you're turning a page in a book. And we're going to do 5 reps about going lateral, go lateral. And then we're going to transition slowly, and we're going to do them overhead. And these really improve the thoracic rotation and your scapular mobility. By moving them both laterally and overhead, you're teaching your rib cage and shoulders to move independently of your hips, which is critical skill for performance and just general spinal health. It's a really good shoulder mobility routine. Now, same motion, except you're going to lay on your right side. So just move slowly. It's not about reaching further. It's just about, again, connecting that breath to rotation. And bring it as far back as you can or as your body allows. If your shoulder can touch the floor, that's great. If not, just work towards that. Most of us are restricted on one side, so you might find a difference on this side versus the other one that we were just on. But this is going to work on reducing any of those imbalances and just build that symmetrical control, which will protect you from injury and just improve your overall movement in general. So now we're going overhead here again. And just take your time with this one. Make sure you're breathing as you're doing it. Okay, so now we're going to come into a tall sort of kneeling position. Just need to adjust my straps here. So just give me a second, and we're going to do a kneeling chest opener. So just clasp your hands behind your back. You can hold the band here if you'd like, and just gently, or just pull gently to just open up through the chest. And that's going to target your pecs here, both the major and minor pectoralis, which are muscles that often shorten due to sitting or lifting. And now I'm going to grab a band. And we're going to get into shoulder pass-throughs. So I'm on my knees and with the band just wide enough to keep that tension, but just allow a full pass-through overhead. And this really helps with your joint mobility. And it stretches that anterior delt, your biceps, and your pecs. These banded pass-throughs are staple in shoulder health protocols. So think of them as flossing your shoulder capsule. Keep your ribs down just to avoid compensating through the spine. Let's do another one here. Great job. And so this next one, I like to go on my tummy in a prone position, and I'm going to use the band for shoulder extension lifts. So just lying in that prone position, hold the band behind your back and lift it off, or lift off your low back. And basically you're going to help isolate now those posterior deltoids, your lower traps, and your rhomboids, which are muscles that are critical for posture and scapular control. And active extensions like this is what balances out all the pushing and even screen time that we do. It's going to strengthen your end range control, not just flexibility. This one's really important to me for improving and fixing my posture that I neglected for many years. It just feels good too. All right, now you might be more familiar with this one in that prone position, just lying on your belly. We're going to go all around the world with your arms. So a little bit of arm sweeps around from hips to overhead and then back, all while staying in this prone position. And these really engage the entire shoulder girdle while demanding thoracic mobility and scapular rhythm. Fancy words there. So just try to keep your hands just above the floor, and you're really training active control here through full range, not just passive reach. All right, just a quick little child's pose transition now. Just let your nervous system settle and allow your breath to deepen, because mobility is not just about the motion, it's about regulation. And so rest phases like that are important for your body. All right, now we're going to start getting into the lower body here, and we're going to go into alternating runner's lunge with rotation. So you step that right foot forward into that runner's lunge, and then we're going to rotate on both sides, and then you're going to alternate and put your left foot into that runner's lunge position. And we're really targeting our hip flexors here, our hamstrings, and again, that thoracic rotation seems to be a key exercise mobility word here today. So this is really integrated compound movement that we're doing. It's a gold for runners, lifters, anyone really looking to gain or regain access to true hip extension and that rotational power. So you might not be where I'm at, or maybe you're just watching and not following along and just looking for exercise tips. And now we're going to switch and go to a dynamic low lunge with knee lift. And we're going to do about 5 reps on each side. So I'm on my right lunge foot here. And you're going to stay on that right side. You're going to come into a low lunge. And then you're going to lift your back knee for those 5 controlled reps. And this really strengthens the hip stabilizers. And it's so good. It's great prep for unilateral movements like lunges or single squats. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to do an overhead reach. You're going to add that to it and incorporate that lateral line tension. So this is really efficient for mobility gains here. Now we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to go and switch sides. Again, low lunge. Really lean forward here, focusing on that hip flexor, 5 reps, and just feel any differences. And that's where you're going to want to focus your attention to and the work. You're building not just range, but resilience, and you're teaching the hip here to stabilize and become more flexible. And you're going to go and do that overhead reach again. Don't just lift with the arm, really like elongate from your back heel through your fingertips. And this full body tension is what improves your fascia glide, intermuscular coordination, and your long range power. All right, now we're going to go into one that I'm not crazy about, but alternating pigeon pose. It's probably one of my weaker ones. And so move through it, no long holds. When you're in pigeon, bring your chest to the ground as low as you can, keeping that back straight. And really that external hip rotation here is what's important. It's not just passive stretching. And we're going to mobilize our glutes here and just help reduce any hip impingements that you might have. Keep that spine long and really move with intention. It's one I'm really trying to improve on, and really helps again with your hip mobility. So do the best you can here. If you can't go down with your chest, that's fine. All right, let's transition to just something easy, which is walking the dog, where you bend one knee at a time and just alternate slowly. It's really good. We're going to just decompress our calves here and hamstrings and just create that gentle rotation through your pelvis. And feel that stretch in your calves. And shortly after this, we're just going to go ahead and take just another quick little pause, hydrate, have some water, because your mobility depends on more than just muscle, right? You want to make sure your water intake, which supports elasticity, and your connective tissues is hydrated. All right. So let's adjust here, and we're going to go into frog rock backs. You're going to come into wide knee, like a frog-like stance with feet turned out. You're going to rock your hips back and forth, and this is going to target your hip adductors, or your hip adductor mobility, which is often neglected in warm-ups, I find. And some studies show that tight adductors can limit squat depth and predispose athletes to groin injuries. So if you're not doing these before leg day or squatting days, start incorporating them and use this to gently increase your range without forcing it. Good job. All right, again, just moving sort of intuitively today. Nothing structured, just what I'm feeling this morning. So now we're going to do inchworm to what I call forearm plank transitions. From standing, you're going to walk your hands forward into a forearm plank. And I like to transition and then walk them back. And this really engages your shoulders, your core, your hamstring, and builds that anterior chain strength as well, while simultaneously stretching your posterior chain. It's also a dynamic entry into core activation without needing separate core work. So you're definitely activating your abs here. And over time, that forward fold is going to improve as well. So get into plank and then walk back with your hands. Keep your back straight before you hinge at your hips. Do as many as you feel. And then I like to transition into deep squat rocks. Just get into a squat position as deep as you can. And you're going to just gently rock back and forth, shift your weight from side to side, and just explore your range here. Engage your glutes, your hip flexors, your ankles. And if you have any sort of knee, hip issues, over time, this helps strengthen that. Now we're going to add a thoracic twist to it. So reach one arm up and then the other. And then you're going to basically be twisting while grounded, and that increases spinal mobility and really opens up your ability to rotate from a stable base. If you want more spine resilience, this is the exercise for you. While in a squat position, we will shortly then just transition into pike, which is basically squat to forward fold. So you're going to push into what's called the pike, hips high, and then you're going to drop back down into a deep squat. And this transition trains that posterior chain length and anterior chain control. So think of it as a hinge to squat flow, moving between two essential patterns for movement here. And this dynamic movement really helps sort of lubricate your joints. My forward fold has improved significantly, still trying to get my chest as close as I can to my knees, and I'm not quite there yet, but I will be over time. And just some nice sun salutations now for a transition. Rise your arms overhead and then forward fold. And introduce that breath and rhythm into your practice, which closes the gap between mobility work and just mindful movement. Use this as a reset and ground yourself. Okay, then grab a band if you have one. I wrap mine around a power rack that I have, and I use them to help me get into a deep squat. And it helps really just pull me upright. It, assists that thoracic extension and allows me to sit lower without collapsing. It's a great regression tool for building deep squat posture while still loading my ankles, hips, and knees. And same thing, except I'm going to go lateral lunges now using my anchored band. I'm going to step laterally and really sink deep And this is strengthening my adductors, my glutes, and hip abductors while improving my side-to-side control. The band provides just enough support to help me push through range while keeping my form tight. And this lateral motion is critical. It's what most linear focus training programs neglect, actually. Really helps me get deep, and I do this a few times until I'm feeling quite loose, and then I try to do it unassisted. So I get rid of the band, or I lose the band, and I do the same thing. And this is what progression is about. This demands strength and balance in my frontal plane, especially engages and activates my glutes, and it teaches my body to own my range that I've earned, not just passively access it. I'm going to get into a wide stance, so feet wide, hinge at the hips, and a bit of a kind of forward fold here, and slowly I'm going to go side to side zoom, just release that inner thigh tension and decompress my spine. These are more neurologically soothing than a static stretch. You just calm my system down while mobilizing my hips and hamstrings. And of course we got to shake it off with a little dance. And I basically finish off now my mobility routine with dead hangs, both passive and active. I like to end it this way. I just grab the bar and just let my body decompress. I do passive hangs first, just breathing. And then I'm going to do active ones where I engage my shoulders and lats just to pull me up slightly. Hanging helps improve shoulder joint integrity, your grip strength, which apparently is tied to longevity, although not technically proven, and spinal decompression. It's one of the most natural and effective mobility drills we can do. Just stay here as long as your body needs. I do usually time these. Today I'm just going with it intuitively. But I'm almost up to 2 minutes of hanging. And that's really it. Daily movement doesn't have to be rigid. It can be intuitive, responsive, and empowering. Mobility is the foundation for strength, power, and longevity. Just like hydration or sleep, it's not optional. It should be foundational for you. It's essential. So whether you stayed here for 10 minutes or the full 28 minutes, we're here and we care, and we're in this for the long game. Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button and like button if you're new here. Thanks for supporting my channel for those of you who have been around. Thanks so much. Take care.